Hello, friends. I hope you can hear me okay. Let me know if you're here in the chat. I think we've got everything going the way it should, but you just never know with tech, it feels like. Let's see. I think we're okay. So holler in the chat and let me know. If I need to speak up, I will speak up. Oh, goodness, everyone. Welcome to Friday. Oh, good. Ellis says it sounds good. Thanks, Ellis. Welcome to Friday, and welcome to our Trans Day of Remembrance. Prayer time, community prayer time. The idea here is to hold some space, to hold memories, to recommit ourselves to the safety and liberation of trans and gender-expansive people. So that's what we're here to do tonight, and thank you for being here. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Amory. I see you. Good. I'm glad it sounds okay. This is a hard day, and if you've been having a hard day today, I'm with you. It's been a tough day. Thinking about all of the folks that we've lost and thinking about all the work that needs to be done for the safety and health and well-being of our community, that's tough. It's tough stuff. So if you've been having a hard day today, I feel you, and it's okay to have a hard day today. I want to, before we even get started, name a couple of complexities about this day that we all have to kind of hold. The first one being that Trans Day of Remembrance began in 1999, 98 or 99. Somebody's going to have to correct me on if it's 98 or 99. But in memory of Rita Hester, who was killed and was being memorialized by her community. And that was sort of the Trans Day of Remembrance ever since has really been about remembering the trans folks that have died by violence, by transphobic violence. And so usually those are the people that we remember on this day, are the people that died through because of violence. This year, I think it's especially difficult because we may also be remembering trans siblings who have died because of a violence that is less obvious than interpersonal violence around neglect and people not getting the resources and the help that they need during this pandemic. And those deaths are no less, they're also ways of murdering people by not getting them the resources and the help that they and their community needs. And so I want to name that even though we're kind of focusing on the folks that have died because of interpersonal violence, there is systemic violence that is causing deaths as well. And so if you want to join with us tonight in remembering folks that have been lost because of that systemic violence, I don't think that that's wrong. I think that has a place here as well. So that's sort of complexity number one for us to hold. The second complexity is thinking about the idea that we as a trans community do experience transphobia, and we do. This is a day that is about our community. But we also have to recognize that we all experience transphobia in different ways and to different degrees, you might say. And so while I don't want to get into the idea of like trauma comparing or saying like people, downplaying somebody's experience, I also do want to recognize that like when we're looking, for instance, at the list of trans people, at the list of names and stories that we have for people who were murdered this year, the majority of those people are Black and brown people, and the majority of those people are trans femme people and trans women. And so recognizing that, like, clearly the violence directed towards our community is directed towards a very specific segment of our community. And it's really important that we name that and that we keep that in mind always, because that tells us where to put our energy and our resources and our time and our concern, towards the people that are at most risk. So those are sort of two complexities that I want us to hold today as we think about our community and this day of Trans Day of Remembrance. So yeah, if you have a hard time holding all of that, it's okay. This is tough stuff. And I'm glad that you're here with us. So, having said all that, I've got some candles here for us. I've created our little candle space. I do live in a small apartment, and it's one of those things that is so heartbreaking that we have so many people that we could be lighting candles for this year, that if I was to light as many candles as there are people, I would probably set off my smoke alarms. Like, that's it. It's one of those things that strikes you as, like, morbidly funny, that, like, that shouldn't be the case. That should not be the case. That we have that many people that we are remembering this year. The 2020 has been such a year that has this many deaths of trans folks in it. So, having said that, my plan is here to read the names of the folks that we're remembering this year, and to light a candle for each of each five, where I'm going to read them in groups of 5 names, and light a candle for each 5. And then I've got candles as well for folks that you want to memorialize, that maybe died, didn't have to just be this year. It could be just people that you want to, trans and gender expansive folks that you want to memorialize from previous years. So we've got some extra candles for that as well. So that's where we are. We're also going to, I'm going to read us a psalm, and hopefully we'll just have a space to be together here. I'm planning for us to go till about 6:30, but probably we'll go a little past that. Well, 6:30 my time. Probably we'll go for about 20 minutes from now. So that's my plan. So the first thing I think I will do is start us out by reading a psalm. This is a psalm that we in the TMC community have been talking about a little bit in our Discord server. If you're not in the Discord server, that's totally okay. But it's a place where lots of folks can kind of talk about lots of stuff, what's going on in their life, theology, etc. And this week we've been meditating a little bit on Psalm 10. And so I thought I would read us Psalm 10 because it strikes to the heart of a lot of the feelings that I think people are having right now. So, Psalm 10. I think this is a good psalm for when you're feeling angry and scared and looking for change. Why, O Lord, do you stand far off? Why do you hide yourself in times of trouble? In arrogance, the wicked persecute the poor. Let them be caught in the schemes they have devised. For the wicked boast of the desires of their heart. Those greedy for gain curse and renounce the Lord. In the pride of their countenance, the wicked say, God will not seek it out. All their thoughts are, there is no God. Their ways prosper at all times. Your judgments are on high, out of their sight. And as for their foes, they scoff at them. They think in their heart, we shall not be moved. Throughout all generations, we shall not meet adversity. Their mouths are filled with cursing and deceit and oppression. Under their tongues are mischief and iniquity. They sit in ambush in the villages. In hiding places, they murder the innocent. Their eyes stealthily watch for the helpless. They lurk in secret like a lion in its covert. They lurk that they may seize the poor. They seize the poor and drag them off in their net. They stoop and crouch, and the helpless fall by their might. They think in their heart, God has forgotten. He has forgotten his face. He will never see it. Rise up, O Lord. O God, lift up your hand. Do not forget the oppressed. Why do the wicked renounce God and say in their hearts, you will not call us to account? But God, you do see. Indeed, you note trouble and grief, that you may take it into your hands. The helpless commit themselves to you. You have been the helper of the orphan. Break the arm of the wicked and evildoers. Seek out their wickedness until you find none. The Lord is king forever and ever. And the nations shall perish from his land. But Lord, you will hear the desire of the meek. You will strengthen their heart. You will incline your ear to do justice for the orphan and the oppressed, so that those from earth may strike terror no more. That idea that those they will strike terror no more, that kind of imagining that future is something that maybe we can't even totally imagine right now. And so I think helps to have the psalmist here for that. If there are words or phrases that jumped out to you from that psalm, I would love to hear them. So feel free to share them if anything did jump out to you. I know one bit that we really talked about is verse 17. Lord, you will hear the desire of the meek. You will strengthen their heart. You will incline your ear. That idea of strengthening our hearts and God inclining God's ear to us to hear our prayers and to hear our hopes, to hear our mourning, all of that I think is really powerful. So Psalm 10. We're going to spend a little time lighting candles now. And like I said at the beginning, we're going to light candles. I'm going to read the names of the folks that whose names we know this year. This year we have 37 people whose names we know and whose stories we know a little bit about. But we also know that there are many more people who we don't know about. And I should say 37 people just in the U.S. We have more than 350 people, trans people, have been murdered this year worldwide. So I'm going to be reading the 37 names from the U.S. that we do know, and recognizing that there are many that we don't know because of misrepresentation from law enforcement and misnaming and misgendering from families and people that whose stories we just don't know for one reason or another. And so keeping those families, we'll light a candle for those families as well. So let's read these names of these 37 people. I'm going to put in the chat here, let me pull it up. There's a really great project that Raquel Willis is part of called the Trans Obituaries Project, and I'm going to put it in the chat. Part of the reason that this project is so important, there we go. Part of the reason that this project is so important is because we don't want to just read people's names and not know anything else about them. We don't want to just say numbers and think that that's all these people are, numbers. When we say 37 people or 350 people, each one of those people is a person and they had a story, and they leave behind communities that remember them. And so learning about the stories of these people in our community is really important. So even though we don't have time tonight to read through each of these obituaries for each of these 37 people, I hope that you will maybe take some time to learn a little bit more about them via that resource, because I think it's just so important to know that these people are more than a name and more than a number. Their names are important, of course, but they're more than just that. So I'm going to start reading these names here, and I'm going to light a candle for each 5 names that I read, and I hope that you will consider reading more about these folks after this. These first 5 are Dustin Parker, Nulisa Luciano Ruiz, Yampi Mendez Arocho, Scott Scotland Devore, and Monica Diamond. We hold the names and the stories of these 5 people in our memories, in our hearts, in our prayers. We hold them and we remember their presence in the community of saints now. The second 5 are Lexi, Johanna Metzger, Serena Angelique Velasquez Ramos, Leila Palaez Sanchez, Penelope Diaz Ramirez. We hold these 5 siblings in our thoughts and in our hearts. We lift up their communities, all the people who love them. We hold them in our memories, and we number them among the saints. These next folks in our community are Nina Pop, Hele J. O'Regan, Tony McDade, Dominique Remy Fells, and Rhea Milton. We hold them in our thoughts. We hold them in our hearts. We take space for them in our memories, and we lift up the families and all the people who love them. And we number them among the saints. The next group of siblings is Jane Thompson, Selena Reyes Hernandez, Brian Egypt Powers, Brayla Stone, and Mercy Mack. We hold them in our thoughts and in our memories. We lift up their families and their friends, all who miss them. And we number them among the saints. Our next group of siblings is Shockey Peters, Bree Black, Summer Taylor, Marilyn Cazares, Dior H. Ova, we hold them in our hearts, in our minds. We keep them in our memories. We lift up their family and friends, all who miss them, all who keep fighting for them, and we number them among the saints. The next group, Keisha D. Hardy, Rocky Roan Spears, Leah Rayshon Day, Key Sam, and Arione Burnett. We hold these siblings in our minds, in our hearts. We write them in our memories. We lift up their family and friends, and we number them among the saints. Our next group of siblings is Maya Green, Michelin Ramos Vargas, Felicia Harris, Brooklyn Tashuna, and Sarah Blackwood. We hold them in our hearts and in our minds. We keep them in our memory. We lift up their friends and family, and we number them among the saints. Our last two siblings are Angel Unique and Unieski Carey Herrera. We hold them in our hearts and in our minds. We commit them to our memory. We lift up their family and friends and all who miss them, and we number them among the saints. So those are the names of the 37 people that we do know a little bit about. Again, I would encourage you to read more about them and their lives. I want to take time now for those other people who we have lost who we may want to name, and I could light a candle for them. If you have somebody in your mind, a trans or gender-expansive person who was lost to interpersonal violence, to transphobia, and again, broadening that out even to the larger structures that may keep people in unhealthy spaces, who we may have lost to COVID-19, those we've lost to HIV/AIDS. If there are people that you would like to name, you would like to lift up, please do that, and I will light a candle for them. I'm going to light a candle for Lynn Young, who was a Native American Two-Spirit person, also a wonderful pastor and minister. Lynn died just this past week, and was an incredible bearer of joy and peace for many people. So I want to remember Lynn Young. We hold Lynn in our prayers, in our hearts, in our minds, in our memories. We lift up Lynn's family and friends. And we number Lynn among the saints. I see that Alex would like to remember Leela Alcorn. That's definitely another way that, as we think about people who we have lost, those that we've lost to self-harm and suicide because of the transphobia that they face. We could all, I'm sure, name people in our own lives who we've lost to self-harm and suicide. And so thank you, Alex, for bringing Leela forward. So we will light a candle for Leela Alcorn. We remember Leela, we hold her in our heart and in our minds. We lift up Leela's family and friends, and we number her among the saints. I would also like to, Levi has written Roxy, Jennifer, and Netta. These are the names of 3 trans sisters in Cape Town who lost their lives due to overwhelming disparities amidst the lockdown. May they rest in peace. Thank you, Levi. We will light a candle for Roxy, for Jennifer, and for Netta. We hold them in our hearts and minds. We keep them in our memories. We lift up their family and friends and all who mourn their passing, and we number them among the saints. Thank you, Levi. I'd like to include my friend Eli, who died several years ago. He was an amazing person who I met at one of my very first LGBT Christian conferences, and he was so full of excitement about what could be for trans Christians specifically. And his passion for that work continued on even after his death and still continues on. So I'm going to light a candle for Eli. We hold Eli in our hearts and in our minds. We hold him in our memory. We lift up his friends and family, and we number him among the saints. If there are any other names that you'd like to put forward, please feel free to do that, and we will light a candle for them as well. I'm going to read one more story for us, one more piece of scripture, and it's the story from John, Gospel of John about the resurrection of Lazarus. And this is a story that I always think of every year during Trans Day of Remembrance, because it's a story about people wondering why God would let somebody die. Mary and Martha are the sisters of the man Lazarus who died. They asked Jesus, how could you have let this happen? And I think so many of us experience that same questioning of God. How could you have let this happen? And it's so good to hear Jesus, that Jesus doesn't scold them for asking that question. Jesus doesn't reprimand them for that. He weeps with them. And in the end, Lazarus is raised, and the people are told that they should unbind him, unbind Lazarus, take the cloths from off of him so that he can be fully alive again. And I think that we have a duty to each other to unbind each other during this life, even as we wait for an eternal life or a resurrection to come. I think we still have a commitment to unbind each other. And so as part of Trans Day of Remembrance, I think it's important for us to recommit to the work that needs to be done so that we don't have these same candles to light next year and the year after that. The transphobia that exists is not just transphobia. It is interwoven with sexism and white supremacy and so many other large factors. And we're going to keep having the same fruit of that tree unless we can take those factors apart, unless we can do something different, unless we can unbind people from the things that hold them right now, the things that we as cultures create in the first place. So this story seems like a good one for us to read on Trans Day of Remembrance. Now Jesus had not yet come to the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. The Jews who were with her in the house, consoling her, saw Mary get up quickly and go out. They followed her because they thought that she was going to the tomb to weep there. When Mary came where Jesus was and saw him, she knelt at his feet and said to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was greatly disturbed in spirit and deeply moved. He said, "Where have you laid him?" They said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus began to weep. So the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying?" Then Jesus, again greatly disturbed, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, already there is a stench because he has been dead for 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believed you would see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone, and Jesus looked upward and said, "Father, I thank you for having heard me. I know that you always hear me, but I have said this for the sake of the crowd standing here, so that they may believe that you sent me." When he had said this, he cried out with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out!" The dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloth, and his face wrapped in a cloth. And Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." Thank you for being here with me tonight, y'all. Thank you for remembering with me, for holding these names, these stories, these lives, these memories. Thank you for recommitting to creating a world where all people can be safe and all people can flourish, and and especially remembering and finding the ways that we can give of ourselves and what we have for the safety and the flourishing of our Black and brown trans siblings, for our trans sisters and our trans femme siblings. So please continue to ponder the ways that we may unbind each other. And I hope to continue doing that work with you. So thank you for being here tonight. As always, you can reach out to Transmission Ministry Collective in many, many different ways. If you have a prayer that you'd like said for you, if you are looking for community in any way, we would love to try to be there for you. So you can contact us in many different ways, but the best way is via our website. So I'm just going to put that in the chat below. Come join us as we try to figure out ways to unbind ourselves, to unbind each other, and to witness the unbinding that God is doing in all of our lives. So thank you for being here tonight, and I hope you have a peaceful night. God be with you, everyone.